Here's an update on my raised garden beds. This is how I made the trellis for them. Now, if you wanted the arches a little bit smaller, I could have just stuck the PVC down in this part here, and it would have stayed just fine, but the arches would have been smaller. And I wanted these big because this is where my loofah is going, so I put the T-bars and just zip tied the pole in there to it. And zip tied it all the way up. Put the green fencing over it. Can't afford cattle panel, I just used what I had. And this one roll of fence that I got to go around the outer edges. It's the same thing I used to trellis my grapevine back there. That piece I cut off from the grapevine. And this around here was the whole roll. I've already got a bunch of flowers coming in. That's my loofah there. Those are my alliums, and they were starting to turn brown, so I just put them in here anyway. I don't know if they'll come back or not, but my elephant ears are having to come back. They got shocked when I transplanted them. I waited too long. But all the little things you see popping up in here are all going to be flowers. And this part is my little tree sprout that I started. I got 1, 2, 3 apple trees. There's one, there's one, there's one. That's my chamomile and my ginger in those little pots and turmeric. Peppers right there. That's just some flowers. One of those, I think that was the flower rocket from the Dollar Tree, and I planted stuff around the outside of it too. And I got some amaranth in that corner, and a couple of heirloom tomatoes. These are my zucchinis right here, and sunflowers back there. Got a few tomatoes back there too. That's the super soy, I think. Super sorry for that. On this side, I didn't have enough fencing, and we used this little flimsy plastic fencing. It's what I have around my garden in the back there. But I just had that extra and put it up there for now. And I did the little piece of fence there. I know it looks funny, but I just zip tied it on just so my zucchini would have something to go up. And I put a bunch of mulch in the bottom too. And since my last video, I also added the extra board going across right there. Well, Matt added it, I didn't. On these, I showed you how I made each bed with the pallet cut in half and those cheap fence panel boards along each side. And I put it the distance apart. I used the same boards on the front and the back of the middle here, and just attached them to the bed on the other side. And I used some bricks just to make a little section in the back there to plant the tomatoes in and the amaranth. But this is how I did the inside. So altogether, I used a lot of stuff that was free or that I already had. Altogether, each individual bed was $8 for the wood part, because the pallets were free. I only had to pay for the wood on the sides, those boards that were $2 each. So 20 bucks for the wood for this whole thing. You don't have to do the fence around it. That's just to keep the cats from using it as a litter box. You may not have that problem to where you'd have to use the fence. the trellises. See, these were about $7 or $8 for the T-post. The PVC pipe was only a few dollars each also. And the fence is what I had left over already from last year's projects. Can't remember how much a roll of fence is for that kind. For the dirt, I used my own compost, sticks around my yard, and made like a lasagna in the bed. I put down cardboard and then the sticks, and then compost from my compost pile, and 2 bags of dirt. The 2 bags of the Daddy Pete's raised bed gardening, $8 each, so $16 for the dirt in each bed. And probably 2 bags of mulch right there. I think that was about $10 because the mulch was only $5 a bag. So it's come out pretty cheap, just using what I have and just doing a little bit of mulch. I do have plastic under the mulch, so I won't have weeds coming up through. And the part where I put the dirt, I cut X's where they could root if they needed to further in the ground. But that's about it. That's how I make my cheap DIY. Altogether, this whole bed, counting the dirt and the mulch and everything, was under $50. There you go.